Hi, my name is Paul Cheema. I am sales representative with Remax Professionals Inc. Today I got a chance to walk into the office of a great person and a professional, Mr. Dipinder Loomba. Mr. Loomba is a paralegal. He handles different types of cases, and I will have him explain what he does. But we will focus our conversation to a particular aspect today, which is leasing of your property directly to potential tenants. Before I start with Mr. Loomba, let me tell you that he is a distinguished person. Even if you Google his name, you will find amazing and astonishing story he has been through. He is a president of small businesses and before I forget, and Professional Association of Canada. So like I said, let's greet Mr. Loomba in front of you guys. Mr. Loomba, how are you today?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cheema. How are you?
I'm very good, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Loomba, we just spoke about so many things, and I'm happy for your time. So I would like you to explain what you do before we actually go on the topic.
Actually, I'm providing very specialist services to my clients. Very common services which I provide is like traffic tickets for cars, trucks, all over Ontario. And also I'm providing the services for small claims court where the limit is $25,000.
Very nice.
And I'm also providing services for the landlord and tenant board. And also I'm providing services where I do not charge anything upfront, that is accident benefits for car accidents specifically. And we have a backing of very highly professionalized lawyers behind us.
I can trust that.
Yeah. And then other than that, contracts, insurance disputes, and almost all the tribunals like Human Rights Tribunal and Labor Board.
Very
we
nice.
are providing all those services.
So Mr. Loomba, I will stop you here. And let's talk about leasing, because leasing does not get a lot of money to the potential landlords and potential tenants. So most of the time they do not want to enlist the service of a professional because they think they're going to lose more than 1 month's rent in paying the commission. Well, I understand that too. So if someone wants to rent his premises by himself, you know, when we go to some malls, we see leasing, blah, 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 things there. So what do you advise to such landlords that what they should be aware of when they're talking to potential tenants or showing their property?
Mr. Cheema, what we are going to take, first of all, I will advise to any person who wants to rent his property to any person, he should be very much aware of this thing, that without taking the services of an expert like who is licensed by Law Society of Upper Canada, paralegal or a lawyer, even you can assess your, you can ask him to give you a partial services, like he can go through your agreement which you are going to get it signed from your tenant, right? If he doesn't want to, or you don't want him to involve fully. That will avoid a lot of headaches for you in the future.
Yes.
That I'd let you know one thing very clearly. Because there are many small loopholes in every agreement. Because I go to landlord and tenant board a lot of times, and when I see that due to those loopholes, ultimately the landlord lands up to pay either the moving charges to the tenant, or there are some discrepancies which he could not cover while signing the lease. And then, now for example, I tell you the biggest issue here. Landlord always forgets to mention about the increase of his rent every year. That is the major thing. And he always forgets to mention in his lease. And another thing, which is very, very, important, that he, when the tenant approaches him, he approaches him like a gentleman and all that stuff. And what happens, like he trusts the tenant too much. And when he's trusting the tenant too much, what happens there? Like, he doesn't check his background. He doesn't verify from the previous landlord that whether this tenant was really good or not good.
Absolutely.
Whether he was a good paymaster or not good paymaster. He doesn't ask for his bank records. He doesn't ask for his payment records from the previous lease.
Yes.
And he just forgets everything like that.
So, well, talking about that will be good for those people who have been living in Canada for a long time. That a potential landlord can ask for photo IDs, phone numbers of the previous landlords so that he can verify with them. What about the newcomers that just landed into Canada but they need a place to go to? So in that case, what do you suggest a landlord should be careful about?
Landlord should be careful about his bank, if he has really has money in the bank or not. That is a bit tricky thing because under the Human Rights Code you cannot press upon to see his bank statements and all these things. But still, you have to be sure that this person has something in his bank that, I've seen a lot of disputes why they are happening. What happens after 2 months? The person is not able to find any job and he is unable to pay the rent.
Yes.
And then things keep on going on the promises and false promises.
Yes.
Ultimately, tenant goes. Very recently, I think so, there was a case which you are quite aware of in Toronto, where the tenant had to move, but first he was asking for moving cost and all that stuff, but after the notice he moved away, but he didn't pay the rent from last 6 months. So those sort of things. Then another very important for the newcomers specifically, I'm telling you, first you have to check how many people are there. Whether they are family of 4, family of 3, family of 2, you have to be very sure about these things. If they are family of 2, 3, 4, 5, because this is all increasing your cost in the rental accommodation. Tomorrow maybe some other family members join and all this, that should be very clearly mentioned in the lease. Whether pets are allowed or not allowed, that is another issue which I am just going to touch here.
Yes.
What happens?
That's the biggest issue in itself. I know that.
Because what happens in the leases, people forget that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And under Human Rights Code, I am telling you, pets are allowed.
Yes, that clause is redundant unless there is a condo bylaw
Condo
that
bylaws.
prohibits it.
Yes.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
So basically, Mr. Loomba just brought up a little thing that I caught, that you cannot discriminate in leasing your property on race, color, ethnicity, any other issues. You don't have a choosing. If you're leasing your property, you're leasing it to everyone who lives in Canada.
Oh yeah.
Regardless of anything that I just said. So if you do that and someone complains against you, I bet there can be a legal issue at that
That
point.
is not only a legal issue, you would be persecuted under Ontario Human Rights Commission.
Absolutely.
The tribunal, and you would be very seriously charged for that. Not only that, another thing you have to look after whether you are, once you are charging the rent, whether you are looking after your tenant properly or not. Now, you ask me how. There should not be any mold. There should not be any water leakage. There should not be any, water seepage. There should not be any unethical sort of previous growth there. That should be all checked. And there should not be any pipe leakage in any of the place, and the paint should be proper. These all things should be taken care of, otherwise tenant can go against you. And if it is there by any chance and it is in your eyes and you want to undertake some future repairs, and with some understanding you have told your tenant to move, or your tenant is too anxious to move inside, it should be clarified in the lease.
So Mr. Loomba, for such people who want to lease their houses by themselves, what kind of service can you provide? which will be cheaper than an agent's commission, of course.
Oh, it's very, very, very economical. I never call cheap anything cheap, but it is cheaper than it's better economical than cheap, and it's going to be very, very economical. Anybody who comes under your reference or any reference from any real estate agent, that I can assure, or from Remax people, I will definitely give them huge discounts from my personal fees, and the discount can go up to 20%. That's my insurance to you, and I'm going to charge them very nominal fees, just checking the lease and tell them how to give their accommodation for the rent.
So you can also prepare a lease document for them.
I will prepare the lease documents as per Ontario guidelines strictly.
So one last thing before we close this conversation. What is it that the landlord should not do when leasing their home to tenants?
They should never basically first of all, if they have leased. Now the question is, before leasing is not the much issue. After leasing, after they have rented their house, after they have leased their residential property, they cannot enter that residential property frequently without giving them a 24 hours notice. Number one.
Yes.
For any repairs or anything, they must be given at least 1 week notice, so that they should be prepared. He cannot change their locks without involving the landlord or tenant board orders. And those orders also, they will give a tenant a time of 15 days to 30 days time, and after that he can take the services of sheriff. He cannot do it on its own.
So when you say 24-hour notice,
Yeah.
that means is the landlord waiting for tenant's consent to enter, or it's just telling him that I will be entering the property at this time?
Consent should be given. The tenant can anytime dispute about it. No, I'm not available. If he is not available, it happens majority of time in the basement apartments. Tenant says, I'll come after 24 hours or so.
Landlord says, I will come after 24
Yeah, after 24 hours to the tenant. And tenant is not available, and landlord thinks he can enter anytime. So that is your entering in the privacy of the person in his absence. So
Okay.
you cannot enter in his absence anywhere. Then I tell you another big disadvantage what our landlord thinks that he is right to do. Like, they usually take advantage of their laundry. Their laundry is at a basement. So they feel they are free to enter anytime in the laundry. Legally it is incorrect.
Okay.
They have to take permission before entering that basement.
Or have their own separate laundry upstairs.
Yes, unless they have their separate laundry upstairs. For example, if laundry is not in basement, if laundry is placed in a joint 2 apartments, basement apartment, and I'm talking about legal basements, I'm not talking about illegal basements there. And the basements, apartments and the upper apartment, if the laundry is placed in the upper apartment, have you ever noticed that anytime the person can, who is renting your accommodation, or you have leased to ABC person and he is coming all the time upstairs and disturbing you? No. He takes first your permission. I want to wash clothes at so and so time, at this and this time, or you fixed it weekly time. So if he does, if you do for your tenants, why should your tenant be disturbed with your interference all the time?
Well, there's literally tons of things that I think that can be discussed
Oh yeah.
regarding the leases. So it is not that simple as it looks to be.
Right.
Well, if you don't want to hire the service of realtor, Mr. Loomba is a paralegal, or any other paralegal you know can definitely help you out. But don't venture yourself into these things, as it may be more expense than you earn in your rental income. So my advice and Mr. Loomba's advice will always be seek the professional opinion. Always, always, because these could be really serious issues that you should take care about. Well, I will just add something to what Mr. Loomba said. Entering a tenant's premises in his absence or without his permission you can, but if there is some emergency like fire or flooding
Yes.
or any serious issue that has the capability to destroy your property, or the law enforcement agencies need to enter, then at that moment, yes, you do not need any consent or any notice. You
Oh,
can
yes.
go in there. So I just added with your kind permission, sir.
No, yes, that is not required anybody's permission. If there is a fire, there is a water damage, or there is any emergency like electricity short circuit
Absolutely.
or anything like that, there you are going to save his property and his life. And there you don't think twice to enter his premises.
So I would ask Mr. Loomba to give his phone number. Well, it will also be flashed somewhere on the screen too. His business card will be at the end of this video. You are more than welcome to contact him and ask him any question you may have before you do anything with your tenants or take any steps. So be a nice person, be a nice Canadian, and follow the laws of Canada wisely and with sincerity. Let's not twist the system. Use it to your advantage in the right way. Thank you very much for your time. But Mr. Loomba, before we end the videos, please give the phone number.
My office phone number is 416-840-5767. My cell number is 416-278-9525.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Thank you very much for
Thank you
helping
very
out. I wish, not wish, I'm pretty sure tons of people will be benefited because of this little conversation that was spontaneous and unplanned. Thank you very much for everyone watching this little video clip. Show us your comments, what you feel about it. Feel free to write us anything that you want. Thanks again.
Thanks for coming to my office. I'm humbled.